KommandoStore has a nearly decade-long history with South African surplus, even manufacturing some designs inspired by it. We've sold thousands of Pattern 83 chest rigs and battle jackets, but we've never talked about the firearms that they were made for. Today, we're finally cracking open our vault of firearms and talking about a company known as Denel SOC Limited. Before we dive too deep into the history of Denel, be sure to subscribe here on our channel. We're planning on doing a lot more deep dives on subjects like this in the future. If there's something you want us to go over, let us know in the comments. With deep roots arming the SADF, Denel SOC Limited, formerly Littlin Engineers Work, is a government-owned conglomerate responsible for the procurement of weapons and vehicles for the SANDF. As LIW, they supplied the SADF with the Vector R4, a rugged and reliable IMI Galil clone. It features much of the same manual of arms as the Kalashnikov, but in what we dare to say is a much more contemporary chambering. 5.56 NATO. The Galil's reputation is about as good as the Kalashnikov's. It's a weapon built to handle the harsh, arid environments that South Africa is brimming with, and was much more agile than its predecessor. And speaking of its predecessor, the most iconic one to us history buffs when it comes to African warfare is without a doubt the R1, also known as the FAL. The Rhodesians famously used it in a wide variety of names and models like the British inch pattern L1A1, the Belgium-built standard FN model, Brazilian Imbel M964, and the aforementioned South African R1, all of which also came with an awesome folding stock, all of which have a fantastic reputation for reliability and simplicity. An honorable mention, although never made by Denel, is the companion pistol to these two excellent rifles. For the longest time, the High Power was Africa's go-to sidearm, and it's not hard to see why. It's yet another piece of FN Herstal's excellence, and is coveted by firearms enthusiasts as one of the greatest 9mm handguns of all time. The Australians must love the thing too, because they only recently announced they were replacing it with a SIG P320. They've been using the High Power under the name Self-Loading Pistol 9mm Mark III. The FN High Power is so legendary that FN made it all the way until 2018 after an over 80-year run. The true impact of Denel comes from some of their more stranger platforms and insane rarity among collectors. We just happen to have one of those pieces. So let's go back to the Vector catalog and talk about this. Now, I'm not going to be shooting this one, and I'll tell you why. The Vector CP1 is known infamously for its safety recall, wherein it was declared the gun should not be loaded under any circumstances, as it would spontaneously discharge. Apparently, guns that go off on their own aren't ideal service weapons. Looking at you, SIG. Regardless, the CP1 made its cultural mark, being featured as a futuristic handgun in Ghost in the Shell, and heavily modified as a prop in The Fifth Element. Its round and curvy designs are truly a time capsule of the design languages of the late 90s. It would fit right in with a pair of narrow silver sunglasses, Neo-esque trench coat, Jinko jeans, and a mini disc player, complete with on-ear headphones. Honestly, it's a shame it's a danger to shoot, because I really want to know just what the hell this plastic fantastic gun feels like. Now, this next one should perk up the ears of anybody who's played any entry of the acclaimed shooter Halo. Now, we couldn't get one of these for ourselves, but you can still experience its angles in the digital realm.
The NTW-20 is a truly insane anti-material rifle that was quite literally larger than life. It was a monster weighing in at around 70 pounds. It fires a variety of large caliber munitions out of its nearly 50-inch barrel taken off of an existing vehicle-mounted autocannon. It can also be disassembled and carried by 2 men for transportation without the need for special tools. Its service began for the South African National Defense Force in 1998, intended for deployment against parked vehicles, communication installations, bunkers, and yes, personnel. The SRS-99C's power in the Halo series was on the nose, obliterating most enemies with a single shot and even being able to take down vehicles. New Mombasa was in Kenya, after all. Never forget Reach, brothers.
Another couple guns we couldn't get from Denel are worth mentioning too. The Vector CR21 is another strange design, much like the CP1. It was a part of the mid to late 90s move by many militaries to start experimenting with bullpup rifles, and it uses a similar action to the R4, making its loaded weight a modest 8 pounds. It mainly was featured with a 1x magnification sight with a no battery reticle, and it had the ability to accept other optics. Lastly, the Neopup PAW 20 was a semi-automatic 20mm grenade launcher, featuring either a 7-round box magazine or a 6-round rotary magazine. Its strangest feature is its pistol grip on the side of the weapon, intended to greatly reduce felt recoil and allow the user to fire from around or under cover without swapping hands. All these Denel weapons seem so crazy, it's hard to believe they aren't works of fiction. And that's what we love about them. Whether it's appearing sneakily in sci-fi blockbusters or hit video games, they've certainly made an unintended cultural impact that can't be ignored. If it wasn't obvious, we'll say it again. We've definitely got a thing for South African history here on KommandoStore. We've cloned old surplus pattern chest rigs to a T, resurrected a strange pair of anti-tracking footwear, stumbled upon a strange snack or two, and scrounged for surplus straight from the source for nearly a decade. There hasn't been a time where we don't have some sort of cool South African or Cold War inspired gear in the warehouse, so be sure to subscribe here on our YouTube channel for more of that. We put a lot of work into educating our audience about the origin and use case of everything we sell. Let us know what you'd like to see in the future down in the comment section. If you want cool gear and a slice of history in your inbox every week, sign up for Commando Pro. It's completely free. You'll be the first to hear about the new stuff we get in, and you get an extra 1% off at checkout for life. Until next time, thank you for watching.